Hello, welcome to the Always Be Comedy podcast. Our guest today, one of the greatest performers I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. It's Graham Dickson. Tim, this dude is an absolute powerhouse, and on our previous Saturday Night Live episode, it's very sweet that Graham has obviously listened to the episode, Tim. We singled Graham out as, if we were in charge of UK SNL, we're not, Graham would be one of the first names on the team sheet. Tim, Graham is someone that we've been after for a while, and the fact that it's happened is a lovely thing.
The lovely thing. Yeah, it's very nice that someone we heap so much praise on ends up doing the show just a couple of months later. And yeah, Graham Dickson, he's one of the great comedy improvisers. You'll have seen him in shows like Staff Lets Flats. You might have seen All My Friends Hate Me, which was a great British comedy. He's, if I may say so, the standout in that. He's really brilliant.
And also, if you've seen any advert.
Yeah, oh my God, of course, yes. If you've seen the Deliveroo ad with the vampire, which you will have because I feel like I see it 4 times a day, it's him.
I think I've seen that at the cinema.
Oh, yeah, I have seen it at the cinema for sure.
Yeah, definitely, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. While we're talking about adverts in the cinema, Sunil Patel and Dominic West's ad is always on the big screen, and I love seeing Sunil on essentially the IMAX.
I think we can call Sunil a good pal. To see a good pal on the silver screen, that's great.
Oh, of course, absolutely love it.
Great. Now, Tim, what Graham Dickson continues to achieve with the free association is nothing shy of miraculous. Also, I warm to this dude. Look, we're different dudes. He's well spoken. I'm not. But I warm to him because he is juggling running a business, or he would be the first to say there are plenty of other people helping, but nevertheless, running the free association while also trying to crowbar in time to actually perform himself. And Tim, they're opening a brand new permanent venue in Southwark. In fact, Tim, by the time this... Oh, no! Tim, this is why you're Tim Lewis. This comes out on Tuesday the 14th, and they are officially opening the doors on Thursday the 16th of October. Tim, you're a very clever guy.
We got very lucky with scheduling. It's a really huge thing. I'm not sure people realise just how big it is. It is a theatre dedicated to improv and teaching improv, and it's happening in like the most central of central London. It's an absolutely colossal win for the improv community of Great Britain, and we hope it becomes the sort of second city or groundlings over here, and I think it really stands a chance to be in.
I agree completely. So programme details for the opening weekend are now live at thefreeassociation.co.uk.
Oh, yes. The full address, why not, is the Old Union Arches, 229 Union Street, London, England, SE1 OLR. It is deeply central London. It is right by your old Vics, your new Vics. It is going to be part of the tapestry of London's West End. It's going to be very exciting.
Tim, it's a brisk 20-minute walk from Always Be Comedy. So I feel like comedy in South London is the big winner for this.
That's lovely. Yes, you can do your improv class and then come over to Tommy Field to watch a gig.
Oh, Tim, this is why he's Tim. Etch his name in gold. You're absolutely correct. So it's not just the free association where you can see great comedy. Tim, Always Be Comedy. Now then, Mike Wozniak. These shows are, I think one of them might be sold out already. But this week, if we're assuming that you're listening to this on Tuesday the 14th, so tonight we've got Mike Wozniak performing a preview. Tomorrow we've got Mike Wozniak performing a preview. By the time this comes out, they might be sold out. Monday the 20th of October, a work in progress from the unbelievably talented Red Richardson. We've put on a show, Bridget Christie, Tuesday the 21st. Bridget Christie for just £5. It's a work in progress as the show is getting quite the retooling, I think it's fair to say. Thursday the 23rd, Jin Hao Lee, Sarah Keyworth, Elliot Steele. Friday the 24th of October, Sam Nicoresti, the new Edinburgh champ, plus Harriet Kemsley, plus Michael Odewale. Friday the 24th of October. And then on Monday the 27th of October, a preview from Anya Magliano, currently going down a storm on the new series of Taskmaster. For all of these and many, many more, please visit alwaysbecomedy.com/tickets. If you want to join the secret newsletter, drop us an email. We had 2 shows with Bill Bailey for the newsletter last week. Drop us an email. If you've already emailed and we've not added you, it's human error. Email us again and we will get you added to the secret newsletter. Tim, in the meantime, here is the prodigiously talented and immensely likeable. I'll tell you what, Tim, come for the Graham Dickson chat, stay for the lovely Kristen Wiig anecdote. How's that?
That is, you know what, beautiful work.
The maestro, the great Graham Dickson. So, right before the podcast, we were chatting about moments in interviews that go wrong, where the publicist jumps on the chat and they have to intercept. And the only time it's happened to me, Graham, I was interviewing. This takes us on to Graham. I was interviewing Bryce Dallas Howard, and who is a delight, an angel, and she was great. And then it coincided with my kids coming home from school, and they run in, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" And the publicist jumps on to say, and by the way, she's doing her job, and she goes, "Everything all right?" And Bryce Dallas Howard goes, "We're good," which has now become a Gill family catchphrase, right? We're good. In other words, it's just 2 kids. It's all fine. Nothing to worry about. But did you get to meet BDH?
I actually sadly didn't. I was doing a lot of the frantic sort of behind the scenes, trying to talk people down from the ledge, sort of thing. It was it did very briefly set the cat amongst the pigeons, but she came at least once, possibly a couple of times. I know Colin Trevorrow came a few times because he came back with his family. So I think it was once or twice he brought BDH down to a show, to a Harold night of all nights, to watch some prov and get some tips, to do some research. Yeah.
So why were you talking off the ledge? Because was it a case of you saying,
Oh no! Talking the rest of sort of my staff off the ledge. I think we're not used to getting sort of glamorous Hollywood celebrities at the 60-seater Free Association Theatre above the De Beauvoir Arms. So although I mean I guess we get a few, but no, there was just a sort of there was a bit of a sort of panic of I woke up to an email saying from one of the guys who works for me, and he said, yes, we got this email. I don't know if you saw it. Bryce Dallas, Colin Trevor and Bryce Dallas Howard want to come to the show tonight, and I was like, that's fine, that's cool, it's a perfectly normal thing. Just treat them normally. They just want to have a good time. And I then just got a series of other texts being like, is Bryce Dallas Howard coming? And I was like, how do you know? Please, everyone, just be cool and stop talking about this. It's not that big a deal. But it actually it was fine. Yeah, it went great. Yeah.
Very cool. Now you are talking to improv. We love improv. I did David Shaw's.
Yeah.
I did all 5 levels of the
Did
Monkey
you?
Toast. Absolutely. I tell you what, I'm not mentally strong enough.
In what way?
In that it just sort of it just confirmed my mental fragility. So if there was any sort of negative feedback, I could not. I think I got it into my head that he was trying to knock me down to build me up.
Yeah.
And if he said to me, "Could I get, what's the time? Why are you picking on me?" It was like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry you had that sort of experience, James. I mean, I can assure you that like not all improv is. I think all, I'll try and be both sort of diplomatic and candid in whatever ways I can be. But like, I think all like schools and teachers have their different way of teaching. Um, uh, if we're to dive into sort of improv and stuff, I mean, it's interesting you bring up Monkey Toes because it's sort of the reason sort of one of the things that led me to founding the Free Association.
Incredible.
Um, Mainly because I'd also done some Monkey Toes, but I'd also started improvising at UCB in New York. So I lived in New York for a year when I was 20 and discovered improv. And discovered it through a sort of acting teacher who was doing a little module, and I thought this thing's great. And then I met this other sort of young actor who's a few years older than me, but still young at the time. Is a Scottish guy actually called Patrick, and he was just the funniest guy I'd ever met in my life. And I just could not have wanted to be him harder, and was probably quite embarrassing around him. But I think one day I was just I was 20 at this time, so when you sort of you just have that sort of puppyish like complete lack of shame about things. I don't know about certain things.
Yeah.
Um, and I just like asked him like probably outright like how can I be as funny as you? And he said and he sent me to UCB to go and do some classes, and then from that point on basically I was hooked. But to sort of skip forward, then some years later, uh, when Monkey Toast was around, and Monkey Toast, by the way, did an amazing job of bringing sort of long form improv to London. I mean, I think really at the time it was probably the only place really doing that kind of like Chicago American long form style improv. Um, so it was amazing for that and got so many people into improv, which is great. But I always felt that there was something that it wasn't addressing, like in terms of curriculum wise, shall we say? So that's sort of what led me to setting up the FA.
Now I must say I think he was right, and it made me a much better MC.
Oh, great! Oh, amazing!
So I give him that is on me. The fact that I would have literally sleepless nights the night before Monkey Toast, couldn't sleep because I'm like, what's going to happen tomorrow? But it probably did toughen me up, and it did make me much better on stage in the
Yeah.
moment. All of that. I can't give the guy enough credit, but not but in fact yes, and just I've got to say this announcement when the press release came in to Tim and myself. I mean, if the listener doesn't know, please can you share? Because this is so exciting. Also, the location. I mean, Graham, everything about this is just tens across the board.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Free Association, my improv theatre and school, we're opening a brand new theatre in Southwark. It's an amazing location. It's like 3 minutes walk from Southwark Tube, sort of right there, sort of by the cut, and stone's throw from like the young Vic and the old Vic and all that sort of fun stuff going on. And yeah, I think it's an amazing space, and we have our own bar, which is so exciting. It's unbelievably exciting. I mean, having sort of operated out of a small fringe theatre above a pub, where so many of London's fringe theatres are, where you just don't get the money from the bar. It's this that in itself is sort of like it is like a huge step up. But yeah, it's amazing. There's a it's a lovely sort of roughly 104 capacity room, but we can probably push that to sort of 110, 115 on sort of good on very busy nights, and then a bar upstairs, and also like a big sort of classroom, which will be a classroom during the day, but is also designed to be sort of a bar space in the evening as well. And it's a really cool space, and it's so exciting. We're so thrilled to be able to create, a permanent home for improv that has our name on the door, but also, not just a home for improv, but a home for, for alternative comedy, really, because that really is the mission statement.
So for anyone, I feel like I'm going to go full QVC on your
Yeah.
behalf here, Graham. Now with the classes, you're not just thinking people that want to become improv kings and all of the kings and queens and what have you. You're not necessarily putting it on just to unearth the next Joseph Morpurgo, Rachel Paris, and so on. It can actually also really help people for more confidence in the workplace. People get a lot out of this aside from just becoming Ryan Stiles.
100%. And yeah, and whilst we are churning out weekly Ryan Styles, yeah, no, it is important to yeah, they're all wearing the same sort of trousers and like big shirt. And we sort of have to apply so much cream to their face to get that sort of elasticity, that sort of
Yes.
facial elasticity. Um, but we're all sort of medically trained, so we're medically trained dermatologists as well as improv instructors. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's really three strands to the business. We're a theatre. We put on shows. We teach classes in a sort of in a sort of curriculum, but it's more of a sort of like branching curriculum with other facets to it, which I'll go on to in a second. And we also do business training. So, the classes that we teach at our sort of regular classes, those are typically for it's a real variety of people. Like it's a real mix of, on the one hand, professional actors, professional comedians who might be either looking to add another string to their bow, or because they've seen and like improv and they want to take that more seriously. But also you get a lot of people who come in and start with us at sort of level one, who have never had never had a minute of performance training before in their lives. And yeah, they might come because they've been sort of recommended it by a friend, or from wherever, because they've heard it's good for, confidence building, or honestly, any number of sort of applicable skills that are just sort of good for your life and good for any kind of situation, like confident. It teaches you confidence, how to be good at listening, like how to say yes to things, how to work in a team, like all of these things. I think it teaches you so effectively. And like what what's sometimes like the most satisfying is having people come and take classes who have never done any performing or never dreamed of doing any performing, want to do it for maybe slightly more like holistic reasons, but then sort of get so sort of drawn into it that soon they are performing, and suddenly that's provided their route in to be a performer. Some of them even go on to do, to be professional actors, or comedians, or whatever else. And that's always just like so, yeah, so incredibly satisfying. And, have people often coming up to me, not on the street, usually, usually like around the bar, around the venue, but coming up to me and just saying like, just want to thank you so much. Like this place really changed my life, and like that nothing gives me greater joy. It's always just the best thing in the world to hear. Yeah.
The hope. I'm a big SNL fan.
Mm.
We historically haven't had that UCB Groundlings Second City. This can surely help on the SNL front, hopefully.
I hope so. I mean, I think the news of SNL coming, and by the way, James, thank you so much for tipping your hat to me in that episode a while ago. That was very, very sweet of you. Thank you so much for that. But I think that yeah, you're right. You yeah you're right. I think the a big difference with the UK comedy sort of institution and the American one is that for decades America, the comedy institute, the whole comedy firmament really has had this bedrock of these comedy theaters, and for the most part they are improv theaters, or at least have improv as a sort of strong core of what they do. And those, those schools, those institutions are providing that gateway for most people. They're literally responsible for training people up in these very specific skills. And I think that those places really sort of hit their stride, I think, in the well, I mean, the link, for example, from Second City to SNL has been sort of solid since since the very beginning, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that model has only sort of continued, and it's always been easy for the casting people in SNL to just go straight to these theaters to see where the next generation of talent is coming from. And in the UK, it's always been slightly different. It's always been, we have, say, the Fringe. We have that as the sort of like main place for people to be sort of to be found and discovered, in lieu of having more sort of comedy. I mean, obviously we have like comedy nights, and we have sort of plenty of those, but it's different without that training element, right? It's different without that cohesive element of training people up, giving them stage time, like creating a culture of sort of comedy development. And I think in this country we've always been a bit more uh, we we we've always sort of like praised the individual more than I think the collective. We've always sort of like respected and been impressed by sort of individual genius, and waiting for that to sort of like be unearthed, rather than the sense of like developing something through collective means. If that doesn't sound too too sort of communist, but
Well, look, for the benefit of the listener, I was nodding so much there, I got RSI. Absolutely. Now, look, in the way that on the US version, you might get, the announcer, David Spade,
yeah.
Graham. The least I could do was give that tip of the hat. You're one of the most ridiculously talented people I've ever seen. Will we be getting Graham Dickson?
Oh, that's so sweet, James. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, that it really does. Yeah, it really did warm my heart. So thank you. Obviously, I have no idea. Um, I did throw my hat in the ring. And yes, the decisions are still being made. So honestly, at this point, I have no idea. And it would be, I mean, yeah, I have no idea when they're making those decisions either. So yeah, that's all I can really say about that. Without yeah.
Now, please know, I have two daughters, right, 7 and 10, and I go watch them do dance competitions, right. And so during these competitions, I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm rooting for them so much. Graham, you're making me feel paternal because on your behalf, I'm like, come on. So, it is all. Look, I know, I'm pushing my luck even saying this, but it is all shrouded in secrecy, even though the show starts in a matter of weeks.
Well, yeah, I believe it's January it starts. I believe, I believe January is when they're getting together. But I guess if this doesn't come out till December, then you're right.
Well, imagine us out of spite, only putting it out. Happy 28th of December, everybody.
But yes, yeah, no, it is shrouded in mystery. Yeah.
Now, will the ostentatious guys? I mean, it's like you are. I know you hear this a lot. It is like you're performing a magic trick. I went saw you at Leicester Square Theatre, and obviously it's not acceptable at a show to say out loud, "How the fuck are you doing this?" But it's that sort of that must be what a lovely thing you guys have got there.
Yeah, yeah. Couldn't be prouder of that show. Um, and I think it's interesting that you say that thing about like uh, uh, thinking it's a magic trick because I think honestly like a big part of that show's success. I think that show was a real sort of like lightning in a bottle sort of moment for all of us. It was a sort of perfect confluence of like different factors conspiring to make this thing a real success. And we all feel incredibly lucky for having for that happening. And one of those factors just simply was like the chemistry of that team. And when we started, the six of us, like I think we all really felt that chemistry sort of straight on, and it felt like, oh, this feels really good. But the other sort of very significant factors, I think, were, well, one was the Austin thing, and we honestly at the time we had no idea what we were tapping into. We had no idea at the time that there was like such sort of like fervent devotion to Austin, and that there actually was this kind of uh, you know just this whole just like enormous hungry sort of fandom just waiting to be tapped up for that kind of stuff. But the other really significant thing, which harks back to the earlier conversation about Monkey Toast, was just that really no improv was around at the time. No long form improv was really happening at the time. There was like bits of short form. The only other thing sort of going at the time was Showstopper. The other very good, very successful, long running improvised musical thing. And uh, and so I think when we did this long form narrative show, uh, people did just think it was a magic trick because they hadn't seen much of it, and that just the format seemed to kind of a little bit come out of nowhere, I think, and people really did think it was a magic trick. And I think these days it's much harder for similar style shows to like punch through in the same way, because the very sort of you know format and even sort of long form improv itself is not as novel. So shows have to try even harder and be even better, I think.
For anyone watching this on YouTube and not listening,
Mm.
they will have seen your face from the off, and even if they've not seen you performing live, they may have gone, I've seen him in the advert for Ellis, right? Now, the say, could you please say a bit about the improv must help you so much at those, what can be pretty brutal, or that brutal audition process. There's that Cardinal Burn sketch, which is just lives in my head rent free. I mean, talk
Yeah.
about a perfect sketch.
Yeah.
But it must help you get things over the line.
Yeah, totally. And you're so right. That Cardinal Burn sketch is so evergreen because it's so on point. Like it's so ridiculously on point. I mean, any actors listening or watching will just know just how utterly absurd so many commercial castings in particular are. And they're only, I think they've only actually got even more absurd in the age of self-tapes, actually. In the set, well, maybe six one half dozen the other. Like there's maybe there's maybe slightly less of the absurdity of like having to go to a room in Leicester Square and wordlessly mime eating a yogurt for 10 people in suits. um, and which I have done. But there's a different sort of layer of absurdity now with the ad game, with now that self-tapes are involved, because they because there's often just a sort of fundamental lack of imagination. Apologies, anyone working in the advertising world. That like they'll now like get you to like film the entire fucking thing on your phone. So they'll tell you like wear this costume, do this angle shot, then change costume. If you have a car, get in a car. We'd love this shot in a car. If you have access to a train carriage, please pop yourself in a train carriage to get this shot. The next shot is the bank heist. Please get five of your friends, get a low angle shot of you all holding up an HSBC. Like it's that sort of like level of like mad stuff. Oh, and it's like, and we need this tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. please. It's all of that. But to get back to your question, yeah, it absolutely does. I think, again, for any actors who might be like listening, who might be like curious, or comedians curious about what improv can do for you, like I guarantee you it will book you commercials. Like, if nothing else, it's really good for that. But the reason being, to my earlier point, often in commercial castings, as opposed to sort of TV and film castings, they very often like don't have script, or they certainly don't have like the final scripts.
My
They'll
God.
have like ideas that are still in workshop, and they will have the creative team will be, right up until the morning, there'll be like three or four different versions. Like it's a very common thing. You go in and like, yeah, I've learned this script, and they're like, that's not the one. We'll take that from you. It's actually this one. Uh, and and so for that alone, it's good to be kept on your feet. But also, like, even if they don't ask you to improvise in a commercial audition, you should always improvise, because chances are, if you can improvise, you will do lines better than what you've got, what you're given. And they won't know that until you do it. But when you do it, they're like, oh, that's actually really good. And it's interesting that you can do that. We didn't know that was possible. So we'll hold on to that kind of thing. And it's not just me. There's low it, TV commercials are littered with improvisers who book and book and book again, like Ali Thea Scott, Charlie Kemp, Laura Evelyn. Like those people are cleaning up the yeah on the ad game, and I think it's in a huge part down to improv.
Now, one thing we have in common is that
Mm,
we're trying to run a business
mm,
while crowbarring in some time to perform, right? So ABC, I'm very grateful, couldn't be more grateful for the work all day, every day, for early morning, work, and then ideally get out and gig. Last night, Tim, I was looking after the nippers because Mrs. Gill was out working. But generally speaking, so I'm asking this because we are similar in that regard. How on earth do you manage it, Graham?
Mm. Um, I don't have kids. And I think that's a big one. Yeah, I do. I mean, it has been the struggle of my life over the past 10 years of running the company, trying to have the right balance. And, it's caused me at times, frankly, like a lot of depression and sort of anxiety because, um, yeah, I've basically always have never sort of successfully gotten away from the sense that, I might have sacrificed energy in one area that might have led to a certain a degree of success or whatever. I mean, you just never know, do you? And basically my life is sort of split into running the FA and doing FA work, acting and writing, and like within acting also both screen acting but also performing. So and also like one of the founders and directors of Ostentatious as well. So that actually is another business that also there's a so and
Yeah.
sort of two businesses. Fortunately, Austin is less less hours than the FA, but still not insignificant. And so, yeah, it is sort of quite a lot. And on the plus side, those, it's not like one of the business I run is a dentist. They all do sort of cohere, and they do. I get a lot of work, for example, like acting work or writing work through my work in improv. And through improv, I'm always meeting people and making those sort of connections, and also like all the work that I've done in improv, including teaching, makes me a better performer.
Yeah.
So they do all obviously support each other, but at the same time they can also like get in the way of each other, and that is part of the struggle. I will say, like, I do a lot less of my I'm really sort of like giving it a lot of like I run the FA. Anyone connected to the FA will listen to me and think this guy's full of shit. We never see him at the FA, because the truth is like I have taken sort of over the past year or two have taken fairly significant steps back from the day-to-day running of the FA. I'm still one of the owners and directors, so me and my other director partners are still manage all of the sort of like top level business decisions. But for example, wonderful friend of mine, Alex Holland, is the head of school, and he is an incredible improviser, an incredible teacher, and he basically runs the school. I these days have basically no idea what's happening in the school, which is great, like because
Yeah.
and he works full time on that. So obviously with the venue stuff, I've been brought much more back into the fold. So at the moment, while we get the venue up and running, I'm sort of I'm kind of maxed out with stuff on the FA, but I'm so excited about launching it. So yeah.
So, so to take you said a bit ago there about there being times where it's caused a bit of upset. In that, I'm not being glib when I give this as an example, but so there might have been a time where you've gone, had it not been for me putting so much into the FA, I might have got a role in. I'm going to pick All Creatures Great and Small because it's been a big hit on Channel 5. So I might have landed X. Was it that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, and it is all creatures great and small. And you are right to use that example. Uh,
I could see you as you'd be a great James Herriot.
yeah. Yeah, that like essen- essen- essentially that is it, I think. Uh, and you know, this is why the debate has raged in me for so long, is because the acting industry is just horrible. Like it's the worst industry in the world, and and the thing is, even if you are devoting like all of your focus on it, there's still no guarantees that you make the sort of strides or that you hope or that you imagine you might, and that's why it makes it so difficult to potentially give something up for like for that. But yeah, it has caused a lot of sort of dark nights of the soul. But the thing that always pulls me back to believing in the final analysis that I've done the right thing. Well, there's a couple of things actually. I mean, the first is simply that thing I mentioned about like when whenever people say to me, "Oh, like improv changed my life," or words to that effect, or like basically all of my best friends I met doing an improv class at the FA, which I hear that a lot. Whenever I hear that kind of stuff, it just makes me feel like it was like absolutely all worth it because it's that pay it forward thing. Like improv changed my life. Like improv really, really did change my life in a very meaningful way. Like, um, uh, 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 yeah, in a very meaningful way, and so being able to sort of pay that forward and having people sort of say that makes me feel obviously so good, and I think everyone involved at the FA feels the same. But the other thing, and the slightly more sort of, I guess, selfish aspect, is that, and if there are any casting directors for All Creatures Great and Small, please don't take this the wrong way. But increasingly, I found that like just nothing gives me more joy than doing improv. And as much as I love getting screen acting jobs and writing jobs, um, the the process of screen acting I do find actually mostly tedious. I find it mostly tedious. I have a lot of fun on certain sets, and I still do love the work when you sort of get into it. But for the most part, I find the work and the job quite tedious. But I still want God, do I still want it? Um, but improv, on the other hand, is like the opposite. It's so low admin. Um, you rock up, you do a show, you're so fully in the moment, and you leave, and you get to just immediately take the show off. And the whole time that you're on stage doing an improv show, for me at least, is just pure joy. It's pure joy. It's pure being in the moment. Like I never have to think of a single other thing when I'm doing an improv show. It's probably the only time in my life where I'm sort of guaranteed to feel a sense of like flow, a sense of being present. And that is just such an amazing gift that I get to give myself by sort of running by having helped to create this thing. And so yeah, that's the thing that really makes me just come back to like, yeah, this is the thing that I'll always be the most proud of in my whole life. This is the thing that will always like I'll be the most proud to like leave as my legacy, because I guess it's the thing that I wanted to be there.
I mean, the word legacy is fair. I mean, what you've done for improv in this country is it's extraordinary. I mean, that must feel when I use the word responsibility in the warmest, most positive way possible. I mean, that's what a wonderful thing you not just done, but you continue to do, Graham.
Oh, that's really sweet, James. Yeah, thank you so much. That that really does mean a lot. And um, yeah, I mean, the responsibility is that I think that's a really apt word because you know I do have really felt that that like keen responsibility a lot, especially with the FA, because the reason for setting it up was to create a brand of improv which I felt was sort of maybe lacking in the UK and what I wanted to exist. And when you cast your eyes over across the Atlantic and you see what they have there, like that's the goal. Like that's always been the goal.
Yeah.
And so the responsibility, like not just to build something, but to try to really build something great and for it to be good, has really been keenly felt. And I think, it's even more keenly felt because I think in this country, improv is still sort of seen as it's still sort of still, I think it's fair to say, a little marginalized. I mean, only it's obviously it's taken huge strides in like the last 10 years, and especially I would say in like the last sort of five. So it's really, really exciting how much it's growing. Like, I do like Cool Story Bro with like Kyle and a bunch of those guys, and like, it's amazing how quickly that show has risen to now to like selling out the new Soho Walthamstow. And obviously, Kyle's profile is a huge part of that. Um, but what's amazing is that someone of Kyle's profile is wanting to do a long form improv show like that. Like that's, when you see it that way round, like, there's there's often a lot of grumbles within the improv community about about a sort of newer this newer phase, I suppose, of having sort of like star-led or like celebrity-led improv shows. And by the way, the same thing is happening in America, actually. Like the same thing is happening at a lot of the theaters. Like shows have become like improv lineup shows. Never used to be the case, have now become like more dominated by like who are the special guests, who are the special guests. And there are a lot of grumbles from certain quarters of the improv community. And by the way, sometimes it's me. but but you have to see it. You have to see it. You have to see it you have to see it from both sides. And to me, the success of shows like Cool Story Bro are like only a great thing, and I only ever want to be a part of them because to me, like that's just great for improv. It's there's that it just so happens that as well as being a big TV star, Kyle is also like an amazing improviser and a very very talented person, and the cast is really great, and so that's just a really good example of like, yes, maybe the profile of the cast is why it's selling tickets, but everyone who's coming to that show is seeing a really good improv show, and hopefully they'll come and see more.
I think stand up has the exact same thing. We the improv. What you want? I'm putting words in your mouth here. I apologise. You want people to come down for the improv for the show, not necessarily because Vince Vaughn, who I think is one of the American examples. People aren't just turning up because Vince Vaughn might be on. And stand up is the same. We love people who have come out for the comedy show rather than they're only going to turn up because Jerry Seinfeld might be dropping in to do 10 minutes. So to the people that we would call, it's like the comedy equivalent of, the real football fan will go to Stoke on the rainy Tuesday evening, as the old maxim goes. But we want those guys. We champion those guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we should open a theatre in Stoke, is what
Yeah,
what
it's only
yeah.
open on Tuesdays when it rains.
Yeah. But no, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then, and so the aim becomes about like brand building, right?
Yeah.
If that's not too heinous a phrase to use at this time of the morning on a coffee shop. But yeah, I think you're like an absolutely terrific example of that, James. I mean, what you've managed to build with Always Be Comedy is like a shining testament of like, yeah, if you put the work in and if you build it and if you really make the brand something that that just denotes sort of like trust, then it also helps that you do get an incredible guest. But I would wager that the a vast majority of your fans just come because your brand is so good and they know Always Be Comedy means a great night of comedy kind of thing.
Those people know who they are, and we love them very much. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I know we must move on to the format bit. One thing I did want to ask you is, you talk about the acting industry. Why is there not better duty of care? The actor Henry Lloyd Hughes once told me a story. He got cast, I think maybe I shouldn't say which network it was. Big American network. He gets cast. We all know I was going to say HBO. He gets cast. You're the main part. It's a pilot. You're in. You've got the gig. Great. You're going to get a phone call Monday. And so all weekend, him and his wife have to have the big talk. Do I go out on my own? Do we take the kids out of school? Does the family relocate? Do you guys stay here? I fly back whenever possible. But, this is going to change our lives. Whole weekend dominated by this. What do we do? I think 5 o'clock Monday is supposed to get the call. No phone call. 6 o'clock. No phone call. He eventually finds out that they've got him confused with someone else.
Oh my God.
And the duty of care, as he said, was that America stopped returning, or the production company, or whoever it was, stopped returning his agent's calls. And so then he just has to process this, when I say trauma, I'm well aware there are bigger fish to fry, but imagine putting through someone going through that and there being no duty of care whatsoever, and then you just got to deal with it yourself. But the thing is, Graham, any actor listening to this will have stories like that coming out of their ears, and they all say the same thing: there's no duty of care. And what can be done better in that regard?
Well, it's such a hard one, isn't it? Because like at the root of that, and at the root of like most sort of actors' horror stories, especially when it comes to casting, is just that at the root of it is always the same thing, which is just this very like powerful and often very high stakes sense of rejection. The job is not like, and the job is not like other like jobs in that like you're putting yourself on the line again and again against however many number of people, and the stakes are always so high because if you make your living from it, like you have to book a job to live. It's like you're not there's no salaries for actors. And so the the whole rejection thing is something that when you first get into acting, I think you hopefully you will be fairly warned whether you go to drama school or from wherever else, that you should be fairly warned, or at least know what you're getting into, that like the job requires a lot of rejection. And I think this is certainly how I felt like when I was in my 20s, first starting to feel that rejection by the boatload. You tell yourself this narrative of like, this is actually, this is all this rejection is giving me a thicker skin. I actually feel great. I actually feel great about all the rejection that
You're actually on the phone to the Samaritans.
yeah. And there was a bit of a turning point for me at some point in the last decade where like I think suddenly the rejections really start to hurt again, and you sort of realize that like more rather than like building up your skin, it feels more like just like a slow drip of acid on your skin. But it's just like slowly sort of eroding you. So, I mean, in terms of what can be done about it, I just don't know because it's, um, I like, I do think I can also see it both ways. Like, I think one thing that actors often complain about often is the fact that they never hear from casting, they never get any feedback, they never sort of they never get any feedback when they don't get a role. But like to see it on the flip side, because I asked my agent this and I was like, is it ever possible to get like feedback? Very, very occasionally you will get feedback, but it's it's vanishingly rare. And my agent was like, yeah, they just, they won't do that because that is, it's like on the one hand, well, for starters, it's an awful lot of work for them, but like, I guess you could say like boo-hoo to that. But the second thing is actors are famously desperate and also like agents are famously desperate for their actors to work, and as soon as you start giving like actors feedback, then it opens the floodgates to okay, he or she or they can do that better, like please give them another chance, like they'll take that feedback on, they'll get you another take. So as soon as you open the floodgates, suddenly, the whole process just becomes like it just grinds to a halt with sort of, people negotiating and all that kind of stuff. So it like the sort of wall of silence that you often get is tough. Like it definitely is tough. But I also sort of see how there's probably no other way that you can do it really. Like, should there be other avenues for duty of like free therapy for actors from equity? I don't know. Maybe equity. Is this a hot take? Equity? Are you on? Like, um, but yeah, I think it is just tough. I like the one thing I would say to bring it back to improv is like honestly the thing that keeps me sane is doing things that I love, like improv. Like I've said this
Yeah.
before. I think if I didn't have improv, if I wasn't doing improv regularly, if I didn't have that regular performing and creative outlet, I honestly think I would have given up acting maybe a decade ago.
Yeah,
Um,
I can absolutely believe that. Because
yeah.
as you say, you've got that thing where you can rock up, you do the show. I mean, any performer listening to that would be like, "Oh, give me some of that."
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I've interviewed quite a few. I'm sorry, I don't mean to drop any names. The movie stars I've interviewed, and we've talked about filming. They all say the same thing about the tedium, sitting in your trailer for
Yeah.
weeks on end.
Yeah.
I think it was a Mission Impossible film. I think someone was in the trailer for, I think it was like 2 full weeks.
Really? Yeah.
On a Star Trek, I think it was a Star Trek film. Zachary Quinto, who plays Spock. I think he taught himself to play the banjo because he had so much. It's just sitting around, isn't it? Whereas, like you say, you turn up at the FA.
Yeah.
I'm on at 8. It's go time.
Yeah. I mean that's the other thing about actors though. They all just have like, a litany of mad skills that they're learning in their trailers. They're all just like excellent whittlers or like play the nose flute.
That
Um
bit. Now, imagine you are curating your ideal comedy night. Do you have any pre-gig rituals, Graham?
Pre-gig rituals. I all I pretty much or in 99% of the time will have a banana. Um,
That kind of guy.
it's a very weird ritual that goes back. It has its roots in. I know exactly where it has its roots in because I this is just one of those weird things that lodged in my brain that I just never went anywhere. Like when I was, I think, like a teenager, I think, was watching Wimbledon. Like my mum's a big tennis fan, so when Wimbledon was on, that would sort of or like always be on. I was watching a Wimbledon game. I think it was an Andy Murray game, and he was eating a banana like mid, like in the changeover. And at that age, I was like, I didn't know much about digestion, but I was like, I don't think you're supposed to eat like in the middle of exercise. Like that seems bad. And my mum was like, no, bananas are really good. They like really good for like slow release energy. And it's just one of those like just like sound bites that just like for whatever reason just like lodged in my brain. And then like many years later when I started performing, I just immediately went to thinking about like how will I like make sure I'm like on my game for this performance. And I remembered that thing of like Andy Murray eating a banana during a tennis match. And so it just became this thing of like have a banana like before every single show. And there's a bit of a banana cult at the FA, and I'd like to think I started it, but maybe that's very arrogant of me. But for whatever reason, maybe it just catches on normally. But I think there's a real trend for eating bananas before shows, specifically in improv, and that I think is really funny.
I love it. I love it. Now, who would MC the night?
Orson Welles.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that sort of, and ideally he's had a bottle of wine already as well.
Mate, we've all seen that YouTube video, haven't we? Is it?
Yeah, ideally he's had a bottle of the Masson VR or whatever it is. Like, yeah, there's a California champagne.
Oh,
Yeah,
if you've not seen it, you're in, what a treat you have in store. The director must have just been like, "Oh, someone shoot me now."
yeah. So yeah, a drunk Orson Welles is my compare, please.
So we're not talking peak Kane Wells. We're talking. He's had a couple of slurps before.
Yeah, I think yeah, we're talking like, yeah, we're like rotund, sort of like Falstaff Wells. Yeah. With big old scraggly beard. Yeah, yeah, reeks of the vineyard. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Wells. Any Wells anecdote, I absolutely
Yeah.
hoover them up.
I became sort of a little bit obsessed with, well, oh, there's um my God, there's this. I've got to send you this if you haven't seen it. There's a clip of a time when Orson Welles, I think, was like stepping in to guest host one of the late night shows. And and he is interviewing Andy Kaufman. Have
What?
you seen this?
No.
It's sensational. And it's so like Orson Welles just does not he must be drunk or something. He doesn't know what's happening. And then he's confronted with like Andy Kaufman and just seeing and he's obviously I think he's in his like neck brace era
Yeah, yeah.
and it's absolutely dynamite. It's so bizarre. It's absolutely just it's an absolutely fascinating a watch seeing these two just bizarre entities kind of like not get each other and yeah, it's really fun.
I was going to say, as Venn diagrams go, that's two circles that are in separate postcodes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Who would open the gig?
I feel like most of mine, probably because of what I do, it would be uh yeah, like I don't know what sets they would do, but they're just they would just be like funny people that I would love to see. Um uh I guess Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson doing some bottom. Um
They would
I'm
have loved the FA, wouldn't they?
I hope so. Rick, like, you know, Rick Mail, probably like many of us, was just such a sort of, yeah, for sure a comedy hero of mine. Like, no doubt, like, um, that level of that. just his level, just just his level, just in everything was just absolutely intoxicating to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now, as soon as I said that, I remembered the anecdote of, I think it wasn't, it was Blackadder. He does 2 and 4, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's Blackadder 2, but maybe it's, anyway, the story goes, he finishes his scenes. I think Tony Robinson tells this on one of those talking head shows. And then Rick Mail goes, which is not very improv spirit, he goes, "So then, did I win?"
Yeah.
I mean, the answer is yes, yes, you did. But also,
Yeah.
but I think the others were looking at each other as if to say, yikes.
That's so funny. Yeah. But he like there's just such a he's just this mischievous kind of sprite, isn't he? And that quality of mischief, which is just always alive in his eyes, is to me like so aspirational. And it's that thing I talk about a lot to my students. And to briefly tangent, it's why I love clowning, and I'm a big fan of clowning, and the explosion that's happening, particularly in the LA scene. And I think there's a really really fertile like crossover between like improv and clowning, which I'm always just like so eager to mine. And I do a lot of workshops on trying to mine that space, like trying to find more mischief in improv, and like that quality is such a that quality is like gold dust for me, and I'm constantly trying to live in that space in my own improv, but also trying to like bring that out of performers so they don't get too like set in certain like routines or like rules or principles in improv, which is very easy to do. Um, but yeah, used to love Bottom. So stupid.
Incredible. Who would, I think Rick and Aid is what a great pick. Who would middle?
I love Kristen Wiig just so much. I think she's my all-time favorite sort of. She's probably my all-time favorite SNL pick, actually.
Wow, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just like everything she does is just sort of perfection to me.
I just said, wow, really? And then in my head, I was like, I think she'd be in my top 5, to be fair. I mean, she's
Yeah,
just, and she was one of those people, Dana Carvey had it for a while, where it felt like, and this is no, because obviously she was part of a mega cast, as was Dana Carvey, to be fair.
yeah.
But there were times where it felt like the show, this is the highest compliment, it felt like the show revolved around her. She would
Mm-hmm.
dismiss that in a heartbeat, but there were quite a few sketches where, and she was surrounded by, the likes of Sandberg and so on, but she was the main dude for a while, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. I think just so many of her like sketches. I mean, I think she plays so well with Will Ferrell as well. So like, I'd probably, as it's my dream night, maybe I'd stick the two of them on together in that middle bit and just do to just kind of do whatever. But Kristen Wiig, yeah, she like just all so many of her like just signature sketches. She just like absolutely dominates. Like the the Lawrence Welk sort of sisters, where she has the weird hands, is one of my all-time favorites. Her Liza Minnelli like turning off the lamp is another fave of mine. Like
She's got that glint in her eye as well.
yeah,
Like you talk about that Rick Mail glint, she's got that.
totally, totally. And she's just so good to watch. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is one of my favorite sort of comedy films of the last few years, and it's just so delightful to see her just like be allowed to go so silly. Yeah,
I know the audiences did not. I mean, this is a bit of an understatement to say the audiences didn't really go for it. But I loved when she'd go on to Fallon
Mm.
fully in character as, say, Harry Styles or Daenerys Targaryen. She
Yeah.
never let it. She never let it drop once. But they,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I've heard that sometimes the US audiences aren't as comedy savvy. I think Rob Schneider tells a story about SNL. Cleese and Palin do the dead. They do Dead Parrot on SNL,
Yeah.
and he says this as a fan of Python. He says they just don't get it. And similar thing with Kristen Wiig when she's sort of like improving her way through as I say, Harry Styles or Daenerys, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason they just don't quite go for it. I mean, Jimmy does his best, but it's an odd watch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny.
Have you ever met her?
Wow, it's incredible that you asked that. I actually, I actually did meet her once. In very, I served her in a pub once, and it was a long time ago. I used to work at in my early mid 20s, I briefly, for like a year or so, worked in Guy Ritchie's pub, the Punch Bowl in Mayfair, which is a very like bizarre sort of place because it was a real. That was sort of when it was in its like heyday, probably, and it was a very bizarre like mix of people because of the Guy Ritchie thing, you'd get a lot of like celebrities and people like that in. But it was also, and because it was in Mayfair, you'd also get a lot of like, bankers and, like posh twats. And then, but then also there was this other subsect of like, of like veteran grizzled East End gangsters because it used to be a sort of apparently it used to be like a craze pub that
Right.
a punch bowl. So there was this other sort of section that were these sort of like gangsters in their 60s and 70s who were all sort of very polite, but like my manager Pandy would sort of say to me like that one there, used to sort of throw people in the Thames for the craze and stuff like that. Like, but anyway,
You made sure that the head on his pint was immaculate, like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, the yeah, one sort of very quiet Sunday evening when there was barely anyone in, um, Kristen Wiig came in, and it was when she was dating at the time the drummer from The Strokes,
Yes.
Fabrizio, and obviously being a sort of dyed in the wool indie kid myself, and that being it was still sort of like fairly peak indie years. That they were both like sort of royalty to me. I was like, and I sort of. I took them their drinks and just I think very sort of politely just said, yeah, just wanted to let you know, like I'm a huge admirer of both of your work, and then just sort of and then left. And she left me a really nice big tip at the end, which was lovely. So what not only a comedy legend, but a real good lady.
This is, I mean, rounds of applause all around here. Mwah, chef's kiss. I've randomly fallen right back into the Strokes just this past couple of days, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's so
Um,
good.
so good. I
That
mean,
song
wow.
Juicebox, that totally holds up.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum,
The
dum.
that first album in particular is like that's a stone cold classic. However you look at it.
Whether you like it or not. Who? What? Right. I'm delighted that Wig was the people's champion that I'd prayed that
Mm.
she was. Who would close this juggernaut?
Um, it's so I feel like I should have some stand up in there, some just sort of some fairly sort of just some good sort of meat and potato stand up. Um,
You
um,
don't have to, you know.
No, I will. Uh, I guess I probably should have some improv. Oh, actually, you know what? Fuck it, because because I think this is about like bringing people to yeah. Let's make this about improv. Like closing the show, giving them extraordinary top billing I'm going to go with an improv team that very, very few people listening to this ever would have heard of. They're this American improv, Chicago improv team called Cook County Social Club. Um, and they're from Chicago. One of the members, Greg Hess, is now a very good friend of mine, and he's come over and done lots of stuff at the FA over the years. But he's a very good friend of mine. And this team, by the way, used to Tim Robinson was in this team.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Tim Robinson was in this team, and he doesn't do stuff with them so much anymore. Though I think they did come together to do a to do like a little special, a little podcast thing recently. Um, and I think they're fairly I think they're fairly well known for being like one of the best improv teams, you know, in the last decade or so or longer. And I've seen them like a handful of times, and every time I've had the pleasure of seeing them, I think it's one of the best improv shows I've ever seen.
Incredible.
And they are just they're just so good. There's this one guy in the team. They're all incredible. This one guy, Brendan Jennings, just deserves to be so much more famous. I think he's like the sort of you know, he just has that thing of like every single thing he does, every twitch of his face, just like just absolutely cracks me up. And they're sensational. If anyone wants a little taster of them, they did this phenomenal podcast, which I think should have a lot more listens. It's called Get It to Dutch, and I think they only did like 10 episodes, or 10 or so episodes, but it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm just double checking that I got the name right. I did. Yeah, it's called Get It to Dutch, and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's so funny. It's a sort of parody of like screenwriters podcast where they play these characters, these three failed screenwriters, and featuring excerpts of them like reading from their scripts. It's you know it's so brilliant, and I think you should give it a listen, James. I think you'd love it.
Thanks very much. I've just started Lewis Goodall's new podcast, Coining It. Have you heard of this?
No.
True story. Guy in Blackpool discovers there's like a weird glitch in Bitcoin, becomes a multi millionaire, starts giving the money away, like becomes like this Robin Hood of Blackpool. And then I'm not up to this bit yet. Something happens and he has to give the money back.
Yeah.
That proves tricky. But I didn't know. I'd never heard of this story. Lewis Goodall hosts it, and you're fan casting in your head. Is it Steve Coogan perhaps playing the part of? But anyway, if you're a newsagents or Lewis Goodall fan, Phil, the only person I know who loves the newsagents as much as I do is Phil Wang.
Yeah.
I think it just came out yesterday, and my phone vibrated, and it was Wang to say, "I'm all in on."
Yeah.
Now, last couple of questions. Has there been? I think now the next question is: has there been an incident that must not happen? I'm going to guess what that is, but before that, the more positive version. Has there been? For an improviser, I imagine this will happen like every night. Has there been an incident that you would love to somehow reenact at this dream gig?
I don't know why this wasn't something that I did, but for some reason the first thing that I come to was this one time in an ostentatious show, probably like 6-7 years ago. Normally, obviously, like we mime a lot of like clothes stuff happening. There's a lot of mime happens in improv, but there was one moment in a show where Joe Morpurgo, I can't remember the context of why, but he came out. He basically got completely naked. He went into the wings, got completely naked, and like came back on stage for this bit, and the only thing covering his modesty. So this was at the Fringe one year. It was at the Cow, and in the Cow also that year, Ruby Wax was doing a show, and the only thing that Joe found to hand to cover his modesty was Ruby Wax's pillow that I guess she uses for that she uses for her show. And Joe came on like using Ruby Wax's pillow to like cover his junk. And it was just like that moment was just so like utterly delightful because that stuff like that just never really happens in our very sort of like often quite like polite show. I guess it does go quite weird, but like but the that kind of like in the moment commitment, which Joe is a real specialist for,
Yeah.
was really amazing. So I guess I'd like to have Joe streak across the stage with Ruby Wax's pillow on his jump.
You know what? I think Ruby would be on board. Now, I shouldn't second guess this, but the incident that must not happen at this gig, would I be right in guessing it would be the Wimbledon final when Ostentatious were booked?
Oh yeah, yes. Although I actually wasn't at that show,
Oh,
so
you lucky, lucky
yeah,
sod.
I was too busy watching the Wimbledon final.
Well, your mum's a massive fan. You couldn't
Yeah,
let her down.
yeah, I was like taking notes of all the different bananas that Murray was eating in the final. Um, uh, yeah, I mean that was yeah. I heard that was quite bad. I heard that was quite bad. Um, I mean, something that will not would not something that I will go to is as a little sort of like nostalgic throwback to the venue we've just left is that, and I'm sure anyone who's ever done gigs in a pub will sort of will recognize this, but like, if you don't have good sort of security or good signage or whatever, it's very easy or common for like drunk people to wander up the pub into your gig.
Oh,
Um, what's sort of like particularly sort of what was fairly like unique, let's say, about like the FA stage was that it was sort of in thrust, and the door to the theatre is very close to the stage. And there's no hiding. Like anytime people were late, you can't hide. Like you have to basically walk basically on stage to get to your seat. And for the moments that those those rare but still frequent enough moments where like drunk or abusive people would wander up from the upstairs, it would cause chaos because like very often there would just you'd be like 2 foot away from them and have to sort of like have a conversation with them like mid-show, mid-scene. And yeah, so I don't miss that. And that was, those moments like did happen. I guess fortunately with improv, you know, you can sort of find ways to justify those things happening, but yeah, not the best. And particularly for people who are maybe less experienced. I was always sort of like fine with it and would roll with the punches, but I'd always feel really sort of sad for people who would like just go to not be able to deal with it kind of thing, but because it was horrible.
that's our worst nightmare, Tim. When someone staggers into the. I mean, it very rarely happens. Do you remember that one guy that wanted to be in the room where Max Fosh had once been?
Oh God, yeah, I do. Yeah, that was horrific. Yeah, that was absolutely mad.
So we'd had Max Fosh, who's primarily known as a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Tim, I can say that without there's no shade on that comment.
No, he's a YouTuber. He would call himself a YouTuber.
Great.
Yeah, and he'd done very well from it.
I've perhaps revealed what I must think deep down of YouTubers. Check this. No, obviously a very successful YouTuber, but yeah, he did always be comedy. And we were mid gig, and a guy comes in. I think while the headliner's on, and Tim's the absolute Jedi of just dealing with this seamlessly. You know, you'd never know. People at this gig would never know this had happened. But Tim magically intercepted him, so there's no drama. But the guy said to Tim something like, is that the room where Max... But now bear in mind that room has had Judd Apatow, Michael McIntyre, Kevin Bridges, Sarah Pascoe, Catherine Ryan, on and on and on and on. Yeah. But is that the room where Max Fosh had been? And yes, and he was ushered safely back downstairs. But yeah, it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll never have to deal with that at the new FA, because there's a comfortable airlock in of the foyer before the theatre. So hopefully the days of having drunk abusive people just like fumble into a live gig are behind us.
Lastly, how do you unwind after a gig?
I usually just sort of like have 5 more bananas and play 3 sets of tennis to competitive standard. Once I've had that first banana at pre-show, then I just have a thirst for more, and you know, I have this Pavlovian response associating bananas with tennis. So how do I unwind? Yeah, I mean, probably nothing exciting here. I mean, you're always so pumped up after a show, I think. And I do always just want to hang out in the bar for at least a drink, for at least a drink or 12. And yeah, I don't really have any sort of other sort of routine other than, I guess, just to get blackout drunk. Yeah, to get
that's the spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that like one thing I am quite good at is not talking shit about the show. I think that's a real thing that a lot of improvisers do. I think it's a bad habit that a lot of improvisers have. The first thing they do when they get off stage is to basically say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was so shit. Like, oh, like, did I give you what you wanted in that scene? I'm so sorry. I feel like I fucked up your thing." Like, there's a lot of just like that, which obviously comes from like a nice place, but like, it's a real bugbear of mine, and I just really try to encourage people not to do that and to just be positive about the show, like after you've done it, and to not. Because the other sort of my other similar bugbear is like, you know, when an audience comes up to you and says like, love the show, and if you didn't think it was a good show, if you're like, yeah, I wasn't sure actually, like, yeah, it wasn't like that to me, that's just the worst. It's the absolute worst thing a performer can do is to tell a paying audience member who's just given you a compliment about the show that you thought the thing that they've paid to watch wasn't good enough. Like, even if that's what you think, you just have to you have to toe the line, and you have to just like respect an audience member's experience. You know?
Absolutely. And you want them to come back. You know,
yeah.
So it's important to go, thanks very much. Hopefully, you see you again for another one.
Yeah. And it's the easiest thing. Like, and there's no excuse for it. And fortunately, most pros are good at this. But you know, I just think, yeah, that those moments when you are interacting with an audience after your show, I think they're so important. And I think like it's so easy. You know, it's so easy to just be gracious, even if you feel like a piece of shit, even if you feel like.
Tim again is the master at this. We had someone, you know, they may have had a couple of shandies, and they came up to Tim and said something like, "When do I get to do a set?" And he did it, Tim, the way Nigel Havers would have applauded this. And he closed the door on them, but not in a rude way. But he said something like, "Next time," and then closed the door. But they would have gone home feeling $1 million. But yeah. Tim just expertly nipped it in the bud.
Yeah.
rather than we don't really you know, in a parallel universe, before you know it, they're doing 10 minutes next Tuesday. Oh God, what have we done? You know. Graham, thank you so much. Huge congratulations with everything. Fingers crossed on the thing that we're not allowed to talk about. That starts next week, depending on when this episode goes out. Bit of fun. It's coming out in October. Yeah, huge congratulations with everything. You know what a fan I am, Graham. So thank you for being Graham Dickson.
Thank you so much, James and Tim. It's been so amazing to come on and chat and yeah, really appreciate the opportunity and yeah, please do come and see us in the new venue soon. I absolutely love to have you, and yeah, this has been a joy. Thank you.
Huge and heartfelt thanks to the wonderful Graham Dickson. Tim, your favourite Graham Dickson memory?
Okay. Well, I think in a way, it's something that happens in this interview where Graham points out that he had listened to us heaping praise on him regarding the SNL UK episode. Now, I really hope, in a way, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm so glad they've heard that, and also I'm so embarrassed that they've heard that. But I think it's a great thing. And the fact he mentioned it is lovely. That's my favourite memory.
We believe that SNL app has... You know what, Tim? Why don't I stop that sentence there?
Yeah, we believe that SNL app. Full stop.
Yeah, there you go. Sentence doesn't make sense. It does, and we leave it as is. Like you know, when Donald Trump's press officers have to say, no, it's all fine. No, yeah, but no. Yes, I think, Tim, we can say this to everyone working on SNL and everyone associated, the runners and riders, etc. You know, good luck.
Oh my God, of course, yeah.
We're the biggest cheerleaders for that show, and when it does come out, we will be there with our metaphorical and possibly literal boxes of popcorn, Tim, cheering it on.
Oh yeah, of course. Your favourite Graham Dickson memory, please?
My favourite. That was very good that you were moving me on from that, and I'm very grateful. My favourite Graham Dickson memory. There are quite a few, because this dude has got this energy of wowee. Who is this guy? So you know, I could easily pick an ostentatious performance, but I'm going to go for something. We talked about it before the app. We did a pilot together. I was the warm up. It was a Rachel Paris vehicle. It was an improv pilot. And Graham Dickson on this improv pilot, I better not say what the format was, because I still think there's so many pilots I've warmed up where to this day I'm sure there's that should be given a green light. So let's never say never. But Graham Dickson, his ability to improv, I know this is almost childlike thing to say, but the thing with brilliant improv, and I include the likes of Paris and Carrie Lloyd and Graham and many more, they're so brilliant at improv that you almost can't believe this hasn't been rigorously scripted. And Graham that night is just plucking things. I know this is the whole point of improv, but his ability to pluck things from the ether and turn it into magic is spectacular. So I think in many ways, Tim, I know he's got a great IMDb page. I know the free association goes from strength to strength. But in many ways, I think with Graham Dickson, this is just the start. I think he's Tim, you can imagine him appearing in the modern day equivalent of the David Lean epics. You know, he's got that sort of energy. He's I can, you know, he'll be doing more movies, more telly, more adverts, a lot more improv. I just find the guy so exciting. I think he's got the world by the tail. Tim, is there anything else to add to the free association? I think we can say this: give it a spin, give improv a go if you've never gone before.
Yeah, I think so. I think the free association are the leading light of the UK improv scene. I think they're really brilliant, and Graham is just absolute top table for improvisers in this country. He's astonishing.
And Tim, you're right. You never know. In the way that the Groundlings and Second City and so on have knocked out, what a horrible phrase, but let's go with churned, even worse, churned out the likes of Bill Murray and John Candy, Kristen Wiig and Chris Farley. And we could name 20, 30 Hollywood heavyweights, and it would be wonderful if the Free Association could end up being the British version of that. What a gift to comedy, what a gift to culture. 3 cheers for Graham Dickson, everybody. No, he's great. He's really great. Tim, before we go, we have to say we had Rory Scovel down last night, huge US star. That I've slept on it. I've thought about it all morning. That's one of the best sets I've ever seen in my life.
Oh man, that's great. He was so brilliant. He, again, someone who's fantastic at improvising. It was so brilliant to have him. And yeah, thank you very much, Rory. I believe his only London date, certainly of this tour, possibly of this year.
It has blown me away. The originality of thought, the angles, the level of performance. Now, this shouldn't count towards it, but it does. Him and his wife were so likable off stage as well. I cannot say enough great things about Rory Scovel. Next time he's over, because it was quite a short term. It was a quick turnaround. But if the next time is over, if we can let you guys know, because this was stand-up comedy of the highest order. This was it was Champions League level comedy. It's really had an impact on me. I can't really say the bits because I think it's from this new tour that he's now taking to the US. There's a hard pause on the video there, and it's because I didn't know the name of Rory's tour. It is called Know Your Enemy. He's taking it to the US. You know what? For our American listeners, and hello to both of you. It's an old gag. Come on, get on board. Look, right. I've got the tour dates here. He probably is coming to a town near you. It is an extensive tour. Just god tier stand up. I'm so tempted to tell you one of the bits, but I can't do it. He takes a moment from history and does a deep dive, and the level of detail while making it hilarious was like nothing I've seen before, Tim. And we've seen everything.
Yeah, he's so original. If you watch any of his like TV spots on like those late night shows, he's so original. I think you could do a real deep dive. He has got a lot of stuff out there, and I think it's worth watching all of it.
Tell you what, go on YouTube. If you can find his performance on Conan from 2016, the election is about to happen, and he walks into the crowd, and it's just one of the best bits of stand-up on television I've seen. And I got to ask him and his wife about it last night, and he went into detail as to how great the Conan team were. And there's a camera shot, so they knew. I think I can say this. They'd had the chat so that they had the right camera on him for when he goes into the crowd. So it's a masterclass in stand-up, but also from a technical point of view, the TV people, the production team, not their first rodeo, and the way they capture it, it's great. It's one of the few times you'll see stand-up on television where you feel like you're at the gig, and that's a special thing. So thank you to Rory, thank you to Stuart Laws as well. Yeah, and thank you to you all for listening. Always very grateful. Take care, guys. We'll see you at a you know what? Keep it in. Take care, guys. We'll see you at a show soon. Wasn't great. Second time around. We're always very grateful. Thank you very much. Bye.